Does anyone else who lives alone feel that sometimes you just live out of the dryer and then you can't find matching socks? Where do all the socks go? Hi guys, it is Saturday morning here in Grand Cayman and I am just about to get dressed and go to the gym. So today I'm hoping when I get home this afternoon I have some time to film. I'm gonna do like a little chat on kind of body image and my story. I'm gonna also try to film some footage today while working out, so I'll incorporate a little bit of that. All right, see you guys at the gym. It's actually Sunday now. I didn't have time to record this yesterday. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about kind of body image and how to overcome that feeling of wanting to fit into a certain mold or wanting to be skinny or wanting to have abs or whatever it is that you feel like is mentally kind of draining you when it's stopping you from enjoying your life. I think the easiest way to talk about it would be to kind of give you my background and my story and hope that some of you guys can relate. And yeah, so I'm gonna start from the very beginning. I was born in Houston, Texas on December, no, I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna go that far back. I was, growing up, I was a pretty active child. I played soccer. I was never like overweight or underweight. I was just a normal kid. I got really into gymnastics, which I did until I was about 11 years old. And then I quit because I was spending like 12 or more hours in the gym a week and I wanted to be a normal child. I started middle school at a new school. I was already shy, feeling awkward, and then boom, age 12, I started my period. Suddenly I had boobs. I had to start wearing a bra. I went from like 85 pounds, being 4'8", to like over 100 pounds and 5 feet tall. And I just felt like chubby and weird for the first time in my life. You know, it's middle school, so a lot of girls are still like long and gangly and lean. My clothes weren't fitting and I had hips and boobs and I didn't like it. So that's probably like when I first started really caring about body image and like started being kind of unhappy with how I looked. Then I went to high school and I kind of lost a little bit of my baby fat. I was like 115 pounds. I grew to the tall 5'2" that I am now. And I was pretty happy. Like my friends, none of them like were excessively skinny or cared about, you know, being skinny, and I didn't feel like I had to fit into a mold. And then I went to college and I started drinking a lot and I put on probably like 10 pounds at least my freshman year. I remember coming home that summer and being like pretty upset and going to my mom and saying like, I need to go on a diet. I think I tried doing Weight Watchers for a little while. I didn't actually join, I just kind of followed the system and it worked. I mean, Weight Watchers is counting calories, of course it worked. I lost weight and then I went back to school and I started drinking more again and I, of course, got puffy again and gained weight back. And throughout this all, I was exercising pretty intensely. I would go to the gym for like a couple of hours. I got really into running. But mainly my exercise was just to counteract all of the stuff that I was doing outside of the gym, all the drinking I was doing, the eating crap late at night, eating crap in the library. I went to Duke, which is very like work hard, play hard. So there's not a lot of middle ground. And there's also a lot of people who are really skinny and really pretty. And I don't know, I just felt like there was like kind of a pressure to look a certain way, even if I just imagined that in my head. So I was always like fluctuating and never really felt like I was happy with how I looked. Then I graduated from school, I went to New York, and my first 2 years were probably similar to college. I didn't eat that great. I drank a lot. I was also like, you know, I would work hard and then I partied hard. Still always kind of like puffy and retaining water. And then I joined New York Sports Club when I moved to New York. And I met a trainer who kind of introduced me to working out for performance. He taught me how to use kettlebells. He taught me like, he got me really excited about working out in a different way than just like sitting on weight machines and running all the time. And that was kind of my first taste of like high intensity training, CrossFit type training. And that's when I started. I remember I would do sessions with him on Saturday morning because I wanted to stop myself from drinking on Friday night. So that kind of like started me on this like get healthy, party less train. So anyway, I got into like high intensity training. I remember I learned what CrossFit was and I would look up workouts and try them on my own at the gym. And I started caring about performance a little bit more. I also learned what the paleo diet was and I started eating paleo. So I was eating very little carbs. I lost a lot of weight. I don't remember when it was, but all of a sudden, like I never really weighed myself, but I always sat around like 120 pounds is kind of my normal weight. One day I weighed myself in the gym and I was 110 pounds and I was like, whoa, when did this happen? I didn't even see it in myself. And like all of a sudden I could see abs, I had definition in my arms, and none of this I had ever had before. So I thought it was really freaking cool. And I started kind of taking it to the extreme. I started going to the gym at like 6 a.m. before work. I would go to work all day and then I would run out the door at 6 p.m. to go back to the gym. People asked if I competed, like meaning in bodybuilding. Do you compete? That's when they ask, do you compete in the gym? It usually means like as a bodybuilder competitor. And I liked that. I liked the compliments I was getting. So I kind of like kept going down that road, and finally I started working at the fitting room which introduced me to someone who got me into CrossFit more so than just doing it on my own at the gym. I actually joined a CrossFit gym, and I remember seeing how strong these girls were at the gym and being like, oh my God, like, screw being skinny, I want to be strong. And I was pretty strong for my size because I was so small, but like there was no way I could barely clean 100 pounds, and I could barely snatch 35 pounds. Like I didn't understand how you could be that strong. And I realized that I really needed to put on some weight and gain some muscle and focus on getting stronger if that's what I cared about. So my priorities kind of shifted because I was in a new environment where suddenly like having a six-pack and toned arms was like okay, but being strong was even cooler. I stopped eating the paleo diet. I incorporated more carbs back in. Of course, like, you know, it's always in your head when you've eaten that way for so long that like carbs are bad and whatever. So I would say like my weight gain was pretty slow. I went up to like 115 and sat there for a while. And even when I would like look at the scale, I would be like, oh my God, I'm 115. I want to be 110 again. It took me a really long time to kind of like get over that. And then finally I crept back up to 120, and that's where I sat for a really long time. And I never like counted macros or calories or anything. I kind of just started eating more and not caring so much about the foods I was eating. I also started training less. I was still spending a few hours at the gym, but more of it was like skill work on the Olympic lifts, and more like focus training rather than me just being at the gym for like 4 hours running around and doing crazy amounts of cardio and metcons and all that stuff. So, but still throughout all of this, like I was never really in control. I feel like I would go weeks where I was eating like a decent amount of food, and then I would freak out because I felt like I was getting fat, and then I would like restrict my eating for a few weeks. And it was like this kind of up and down roller coaster. Meanwhile, I also worked in fitness where like a lot of female fitness instructors, they wear like their little shirts and their high pants and they show their abs, and it's kind of a pressure to look that way because you want females to want to look like you so that they'll take your class. And so it was just, I don't know, just like a weird time for me mentally. I never felt totally satisfied with myself. So fast forward, I moved to Grand Cayman it was last July, and started working out at a CrossFit gym here, and obviously the one that I coach at, and training with some really strong people, and deciding that if I really want to get stronger, I need to make an effort to do it. So I started working with one of the coaches here, and he gave me some numbers to follow, some macronutrients. And this was the first time I ever had tracked anything. I kind of just always like ate intuitively, which if you don't track and you have a specific goal, by the way, you really have no idea what you are putting into your body unless you've tracked macros before, and you like now I could probably not track and still hit my numbers and know what I'm eating relatively easily because I've been doing it for a while. But previously, like I had no idea, you know, like you're just kind of guessing and you don't know what works for you. You're not consistent. So anyway, for the first time ever, I started tracking my macros, and it made me realize that I was definitely under eating. I let my weight kind of stabilize, and then we started adding food, and we increased my carb intake. We increased my fat intake. I definitely was not eating enough protein before I had started tracking, and I saw myself start gaining weight a little bit. Like I had energy, I was getting stronger in the gym, and I had to accept that I was okay putting on a little bit of fat. And that's one thing that I think for girls is the hardest part, is everyone says, I want to put on muscle, but I don't want to get fat. And that's fine. But when you're gaining weight, especially as a female, it's nearly impossible to only put on muscle. Your body is gonna put on a little bit of body fat, and that's totally normal. If you're someone who wants to gain weight, first of all, you can probably stand to have a little extra body fat on you. And second of all, when you get to the weight you're trying to get to, you can always do a cut and get rid of some of that. Like it's not gonna be stuck on your body forever. I saw the number on the scale like slowly creeping up. Finally, like I want to say a month or so ago, I got on the scale and I was 130 pounds and like feeling pretty good about myself. Totally different body composition to in college when I was almost 130 pounds. And it was pretty exciting. Like that was a big milestone for me, more than like hitting the actual weight and knowing that I had put on weight and put on some muscle, but also just mentally like being okay with getting on the scale and seeing that number, being like, okay, awesome, let's go train. The biggest thing that helps me and that you should know is that like, look at who you're surrounding yourself with, right? Are you surrounded by people who are gonna admire you because you have a six-pack? Or are you surrounded by people who are gonna admire you because you are a strong person, that you're a kind person, that you do good things for people, that you help other people, that you put your all into everything that you do? Like those are things that are admirable and that people should look up to you for. Not how lean you are, not if you have a six-pack, not how shredded your arms are. So once you kind of get over that hurdle, it becomes much easier to accept yourself and just to be happy. So hopefully that was helpful for some of you. I know I was rambling and I'm gonna have to cut a lot of stuff that I said out because this went on forever. But yeah, that's the end of this video. If you have comments or questions, leave them below. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do that. Give it a thumbs up, share it with anyone that you think would benefit from seeing this, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.